The moment Staff Sergeant Cole Brennan's hands made contact with her shoulders, the moment he shoved her hard enough to send her sprawling onto the gravel compound of Forward Operating Base Sentinel Lieutenant Commander Avery Blackwood made a calculation. She could break his wrist in 3 moves, could put him on the ground in 2 seconds, could make him regret every assumption he just made about the 23-year-old woman in civilian clothes walking through his restricted area during a security alert. Instead, she chose silence. Let her intelligence folder scatter across the dust like worthless paper. Let him feel powerful for exactly 7 more minutes. Because in 7 minutes, this Marine was going to learn that the girl he just assaulted outranked him by 4 pay grades and had more confirmed kills than his entire platoon combined. And that lesson was going to save his life whether he deserved it or not. Avery tasted blood before she fully understood she was on the ground. Copper and humiliation mixed on her tongue where she'd bitten the inside of her cheek when her face hit the gravel. Her intelligence folder classified documents about a Taliban commander named Rashid Khalil, who'd killed 51 American soldiers in 8 months, lay scattered in the Afghan dust like trash. "I said get out of here." The voice belonged to the man who'd pushed her. Marine Staff Sergeant based on the insignia. Maybe 29 years old. Built like someone who'd spent the last decade turning violence into a profession. Avery stayed down for exactly 3 seconds. Not because she couldn't get up, not because she was hurt, but because she was making calculations that most people couldn't make under stress. One drawing attention to herself compromised her mission. She was supposed to arrive, quietly brief the base commander, and coordinate a response to the intelligence she'd gathered during 6 months of deep cover work tracking Khalil's network. 2. This Marine had just committed assault on a superior officer. But he didn't know that, couldn't know that, because Avery was wearing civilian clothes. Olive cargo pants, a sand-colored jacket, hair pulled back in a simple ponytail, having come directly from an operation where SEAL uniforms would have gotten her killed. 3. In approximately 7 minutes, this base was going to face a coordinated threat. The IED that had detonated outside the perimeter 90 seconds ago wasn't just another probe. It was a signal. And every second she wasted on ego was a second she couldn't spend preventing catastrophe. "You deaf." The Marine was still talking, his voice sharp with the kind of authority that came from believing he was right. "This is a restricted area during security alerts. Civilians get to the bunkers or get off the base." Avery gathered her documents carefully, methodically. Her hands were steady despite the rage building in her chest, not at him, at the situation. At the fact that she was 23 years old, female, and had spent her entire military career fighting battles that had nothing to do with enemies. "I'm not a civilian," Avery said quietly, standing. Gravel clung to her jacket. Blood from her split lip tasted like pennies. "I need to get to the TOC. It's urgent." TOC is for military personnel. Cole Brennan's hand moved to his sidearm, not threatening, just ready. The gesture of a man who'd learned to be prepared. "You need an escort and proper identification." "I don't have time for this." She started walking toward the main building, toward the Tactical Operations Center, where decisions were made and lives were saved or lost based on the quality of intelligence and the speed of response. The Marine grabbed her arm. His grip was firm, meant to intimidate. It would have worked on most people. Avery Blackwood had spent the last 6 months embedded with a Taliban cell, convincing men who thought women were property that she was a sympathetic French journalist. She'd sat through their planning sessions, learned their attack patterns, identified their leadership structure. And she'd done it while knowing that one wrong word, one suspicious glance, one moment of being recognized as American would mean torture and execution streamed on the internet. This Marine's grip was nothing. "Sir," Avery said, using the formal address, despite the fact that she outranked him, despite the fact that he'd just assaulted her. "There's a coordinated attack coming. I have actionable intelligence that the base commander needs immediately. Either escort me to the TOC or let me go. But if you delay me and people die, that's on you." Something in her voice made him pause. Not the words, the tone, the absolute certainty, the kind of voice that didn't argue because it knew it was right. "Who are you, Kistarshi?" "Someone who doesn't have time for this conversation." Alarms erupted across the base. Not the single-tone IED alert. The 3-tone sequence that meant incoming fire. Mortars were landing now, small explosions meant to keep security forces pinned down and reactive rather than strategic. Cole Brennan's head whipped toward the sound. His grip loosened just enough. Avery pulled free and ran. Behind her, the Marine was shouting something about authorization and protocol. But Avery was already gone, her legs eating ground the way they'd been trained to during SEAL conditioning, When instructors had tried to break her by making her run until her feet bled and her lungs burned, and she'd kept running anyway because stopping meant failure. And failure meant proving everyone right who said women couldn't do this. The Tactical Operations Center was housed in the main building, reinforced concrete and steel designed to withstand mortar fire. Avery hit the door at a dead sprint, showed the guard her C8 card, the military ID that listed her rank as lieutenant commander. The guard's eyes went wide. "Commander, I didn't know. Where's Major Hastings?" "Inside, ma'am, but we're under attack. He's not taking—" Avery pushed past him. Inside of the TOC was controlled chaos, screens showing drone feeds, radio operators calling out contact reports. And in the center, Major Warren Hastings, 52 career officer veteran of 3 deployments, was coordinating the defense. "Major Hastings," Avery said, approaching his station. Hastings glanced at her, did a double take at her civilian clothes and her age, and his expression cycled through confusion to irritation in half a second. "Who let a civilian in here during an attack? Someone get her to a bunker." "Lieutenant Commander Avery Blackwood, SEAL Team 7. Avery pulled out her ID, held it where he could see the rank and clearance level. "I have urgent intelligence regarding this attack." Hastings' expression didn't soften. His eyes took in her youth, her gender, the blood on her lip from where she'd hit the ground. "Commander, you're what, 1223, and the attack you're experiencing is a probe. The real assault comes in approximately 87 minutes. 200 enemy combatants with heavy weapons, RPGs, mortars, possibly anti-aircraft. Your defensive grid has been compromised by an insider threat." "That's impossible. Our systems are secure." "Your systems are controlled by protocols designed by Staff Sergeant Trevor Walsh, who's been on this base for 7 months and is currently working for Rashid Khalil." Avery pulled out her intelligence folder, now dirt-stained and crumpled from being scattered on the ground, and spread documents across Hastings' desk. "I've been tracking Khalil's network since last February. He's been planning this assault for 9 months. The IED, the mortar fire, its theater, meant to draw your security forces to the perimeter while his real team does something much worse." Hastings was reading her documents now, his expression darkening with each page. Battle plans, intercepted communications, photographs of weapons, caches, and training compounds. "How did you get this intelligence?" "By spending 6 months pretending to be a French journalist sympathetic to their cause. By attending their planning sessions. By earning their trust." Avery met his eyes. "And by being someone they underestimated because I'm young and female. Same mistake you're making right now, sir." The words hung in the air. Hastings could have reacted with anger. Could have pulled rank, demanded respect, thrown her out for insubordination. Instead, he proved why he'd made major despite the Army being notorious for eating good officers alive. "What do you need from me?" "Permission to locate the infiltrator, authority to bypass normal security protocols, and someone who knows this base well enough to help me find him before he activates Khalil's surprise." "What surprise?" "Khalil didn't infiltrate your systems to spy Major. He infiltrated them to weaponize them. In 87 minutes, when he sends the activation code every automated defense, you have the radar systems, the drone network, the surveillance grid goes dark. Taliban forces will be able to approach without detection. By the time you realize what's happening, 200 fighters will be inside your perimeter, and 300 American soldiers will die in the dark." The color drained from Hastings' face. "The activation sequence is already in motion. Staff Sergeant Walsh has been planting EMP amplifiers across the base for 7 months. When Khalil sends the code, your entire electronic defense infrastructure crashes simultaneously. No radar, no drones, no early warning. Just darkness and death." Hastings was on his feet now, calling for his executive officer. "Get me Walsh's location. Now." "Sir," a young lieutenant at a computer terminal called out, "Walsh is on duty at the radar tower. Says he's running diagnostics after the IED knocked out some of our antenna arrays." Avery and Hastings looked at each other. The radar tower, perfect position to broadcast Khalil's activation code to every amplifier on the base. "He's doing it now," Avery said. "Not in 87 minutes, now. The attack timing was wrong in my intelligence. Khalil moved up the schedule." "How do you know?" "Because I would. If I were Khalil and I knew someone was tracking me, I'd change my timeline to catch them off guard. We have maybe 12 minutes before he activates the grid." Hastings made a decision. The kind of decision that separated leaders from managers, warriors from bureaucrats. "Commander Blackwood, I'm authorizing you to handle this. But you need an escort, someone who knows the base." "I'll take whoever you've got." Hastings pulled out his radio. Staff Sergeant Brennan, report to TOC immediately. Avery felt her stomach drop. Brennan, the Marine who'd pushed her, the man who'd judged her by what he saw instead of what she was. The door opened. Cole Brennan entered, saw Avery, and his expression went through several rapid transformations. Confusion, recognition, horror. "Sir," he said to Hastings, his voice strained, "I need to report an incident. I assaulted a civilian outside the base about 8 minutes ago. Pushed her to the ground. I thought she was..." He stopped, looked at Avery's CAC card still on Hastings' desk, saw the rank. "Oh God. You pushed Commander Blackwood to the ground." Hastings' voice was ice. "I didn't know, sir. She was in civilian clothes, no ID visible, walking through a restricted area during an alert. I thought she was a contractor who didn't understand the danger." "So you assaulted her?" Yes, sir." Avery spoke before Hastings could continue the verbal execution. "Major, we don't have time for this. Staff Sergeant Brennan made a mistake based on incomplete information. I need him functional, not torn apart by guilt. We can address the incident after we stop Khalil." Cole looked at her with something like confusion mixed with gratitude. "You're not going to press charges. I'm going to use you to stop an attack. Then we'll discuss your assumptions about women in combat zones." Avery turned to Hastings. "Sir, I need authorization to access the radar tower authority to detain or neutralize Staff Sergeant Walsh and Brennan as my escort. Can you provide that?" "Done." Hastings scrawled something on official paper, handed it to Avery. "Written authorization. And Brennan, you follow Commander Blackwood's orders without question. She outranks you, she outtrains you, and based on her intelligence, she's about to save your life. Understood?" "Yes, sir." "Then move. Both of you." Avery and Cole headed for the door. As they exited the TOC running through a compound now under sporadic mortar fire, Cole spoke quietly. "Commander, I need to apologize. You need to shut up and keep pace. We'll discuss your prejudices after we've prevented 300 deaths." They ran through the base compound. Mortars were landing in a pattern that was wrong, too scattered, not designed to hit anything important. Just theater, like Avery had said, meant to keep people pinned and reactive. "You said you've been tracking Khalil for 6 months, Cole said, keeping pace beside her despite his combat load. "You're 23. How long have you been a SEAL?" "Long enough." "That's not an answer." "It's the only answer you're getting right now." They reached the radar tower, 3 stories of concrete and steel bristling with antenna arrays and satellite dishes. The door was supposed to be locked during alerts. It was open. "He's already inside," Avery whispered, "which means he's either transmitting the activation code or preparing to. We go in fast to overwhelm him before he can trigger anything." "No," a voice said from behind them. "We go in smart, dumb." Master Chief Magnus Reeves stepped out of the shadows. 62 years old, face like carved granite, eyes that had seen things most people couldn't imagine. He'd been at this base for 3 months serving as senior SEAL advisor, training young operators, preparing to retire after 40 years of service. He was also the man who'd trained Avery Blackwood. "Master Chief," Avery said, "I didn't know you were..." "I've been watching, Lieutenant Commander. Saw what happened outside. Saw you handle it with more grace than I would have." Reeves looked at Cole. "Staff Sergeant Brennan, you just made the biggest mistake of your career. But you're about to get a chance to fix it. Follow orders, stay sharp, and maybe you'll learn something about what real warriors look like." Cole nodded, his face burning with shame. Reeves turned to Avery. "Walsh is inside. 2 Taliban fighters with him based on the thermal signature. They're at the main console on the 3rd floor. You've got maybe 5 minutes before that activation code goes out." "How do we play it?" "You take point. Brennan provides cover. I watch the exit in case anyone tries to grab it." "But Avery," Reeves's voice dropped, "when you go in that room, you're going to have to make decisions fast. Walsh is a traitor, but he's still American military. Those Taliban fighters won't hesitate. You understand what I'm saying?" "I understand, Master Chief." "Good, because I've been training you for 4 years. I know what you can do. Now go show Brennan what a real operator looks like." Avery moved through the door like smoke. The interior was dimly lit. Stairs leading up to the transmission equipment. She could hear voices above Walsh speaking English, someone else responding in Pashto. She climbed the stairs without sound, a skill learned during close quarters training where instructors threw flashbangs at students who made noise. You learned very quickly that silence was survival. At the top of the stairs, she could see into the main control room. Staff Sergeant Trevor Walsh at the console, typing rapidly. And beside him, 2 men in contractor uniforms who were definitely not contractors based on the way they held their 47s. Avery checked her Sig Sauer P226, 15 rounds in the magazine, 1 in the chamber. She'd carried this weapon through situations most people couldn't imagine. It had never failed her. Behind her, Cole Brennan moved into position, his M4 carbine at the ready. He was breathing hard, but his hands were steady. Whatever else he was a Marine. He knew how to fight. "How long?" one of the Taliban fighters asked in Pashto. 90 seconds, Walsh replied in the same language, not looking up from his screen. "Just need to synchronize the final amplifier." 90 seconds. Avery had 90 seconds to stop 3 armed men from activating a system that would blind the base and kill 300 people. She was outnumbered, outgunned, operating in a confined space where one stray bullet could hit critical equipment. So she did what SEALs do. She adapted. "Staff Sergeant Walsh," Avery said loudly, stepping into view with her weapon up. "Step away from the console." All 3 men spun. The contractors raised their rifles. Walsh's hand moved toward the console. "Touch that keyboard and I put a round through your hand," Avery said calmly. "Then through your head. I'm trained to make that shot and you know it." Walsh froze. "Who are you?" he asked. "Lieutenant Commander Avery Blackwood. And you're under arrest for treason, collaboration with enemy forces, and attempted murder of 300 American personnel." One of the contractors laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "One woman with a pistol. We're 3 men with rifles. Do the math, girl." Avery's response was delivered without emotion. "I'm a Navy SEAL with 51 confirmed kills across 4 deployments. You're Taliban fighters who think rifles make you dangerous. I've killed men better armed and better trained than you without breaking a sweat. Drop your weapons or find out what happens when ego meets expertise." The contractors hesitated. That was their mistake. Cole Brennan burst through the door behind Avery, his M4 up. "She's got backup. Drop them now." 2 guns against 3. Better odds, but still not good. The first contractor made his decision. He swung his rifle toward Avery. She fired twice. Both rounds center mass before his barrel was even level. He dropped. The second contractor aimed at Cole. Avery pivoted, put 3 rounds into him before he could fire. He fell. Walsh lunged for the console. Avery crossed the room in 3 steps, grabbed his wrist, twisted it back until bones creaked, drove him to the floor. His face hit concrete hard enough to split his lip. "Don't move." Cole secured Walsh with zip ties while Avery checked the console. The activation sequence was loaded, ready to transmit. 1 keystroke from turning the base's automated defenses into a death trap. "How close were we?" Cole asked, his voice shaking slightly now that the adrenaline was fading. Avery looked at the screen. The countdown timer showed 47 seconds remaining before automatic activation. "Close enough." She pulled the power cord. The system died with an electronic whine. The screens went dark. The activation was stopped. 300 lives saved by 47 seconds. And 1 woman who'd refused to let assumptions about her age and gender define her capability. Cole stared at her. "You just killed 2 men without hesitation." "I did my job." "That's not normal. That level of accuracy under stress. That's what happens when you train harder than everyone else because you have to be twice as good to get half the respect." Avery turned to face him. "You pushed me to the ground because you saw a young woman in civilian clothes and assumed I was helpless. Those contractors aimed at me because they saw a girl with a pistol and assumed I was an easy target. Staff Sergeant Walsh betrayed this base because he assumed he was smarter than everyone. Every single assumption was wrong, and people died because of it." Cole was quiet for a long moment. "I'm sorry for pushing you, for assuming, for judging me by what you saw instead of what I could do. I know. I've heard it my entire career." Master Chief Reeves appeared in the doorway. He looked at the 2 dead Taliban fighters at Walsh bleeding on the floor, at Avery standing calm and composed despite having just killed 2 men. "Clean work, Lieutenant Commander. Your father would be proud." Something flickered across Avery's face at the mention of her father. Pain, old and deep. "My father died before I was born, Master Chief. He doesn't get to be proud." "Then I'll be proud for both of us. You just saved 300 lives with 47 seconds to spare. That's the kind of operational excellence this military needs." Radio chatter erupted from Cole's kit. Hastings' voice sharp and urgent. "All units be advised. Mortar fire has ceased. Enemy forces appear to be withdrawing. Status report from all sectors." Cole keyed his mic. "TOC, this is Brennan. Radar tower secure, infiltrator in custody. Commander Blackwood stopped the activation. 300 lives saved." A pause. Then Hastings' voice, different now, carrying weight. Tell Commander Blackwood she has my thanks and my apology for doubting her. Avery took Cole's radio. Major Hastings, I need immediate interrogation authority for Staff Sergeant Walsh. He knows Khalil's full network. We can roll up the entire operation if we move fast. Granted. And Commander, for what it's worth, I'm sorry I looked at you and saw age and gender instead of capability. Sir, with respect, I don't need your apology. I need you to remember this moment the next time you meet someone who doesn't fit your expectations. Because assumptions kill. Every single time. She handed the radio back to Cole and headed for the stairs. Behind her, Cole was processing everything he just witnessed. The speed, the accuracy, the absolute certainty of someone who'd proven herself so many times that doubt was no longer possible. Commander, he called after her. Avery stopped, looked back. For what it's worth, I've been a Marine for 11 years. I've served with some of the best operators in the Corps, and what you just did, that was the most professional, precise tactical response I've ever seen. Staff Sergeant, in about 6 hours, you're going to be brought up on charges for assaulting a superior officer. Your career will be on the line, and I'm going to be the one who determines whether you face court-martial or get a second chance. She let that sink in. Use the next 6 hours to think about why you made the assumptions you did. Not to prepare a defense, but to genuinely understand your own prejudices. Because the next time you see someone who doesn't fit the mold, I want you to remember that the mold is the problem, not the person. She left him standing there, walked out of the radar tower into chaos that was starting to organize itself into order. The attack was over. Khalil's activation was prevented, and Avery Blackwood had just saved 300 lives while simultaneously teaching an entire base that appearance means nothing. But the cost of constantly proving herself was wearing on her. Every mission, every deployment, every single time she walked into a room and watched people calculate her worth based on what they saw instead of what she'd done. She thought about her father, Major Douglas Blackwood, dead in the Gulf War before she was born, killed because his commanding officer had ignored his intelligence about an Iraqi ambush, killed because ego had overridden expertise. Her mother had told her the story 1,000 times, how her father's last radio call had warned about the ambush, how his CO had dismissed it as paranoia, how 12 men died in that desert because someone chose to trust their assumptions over expert analysis. Avery had built her entire life around not repeating that mistake. Joined the Naval Academy at 16 through a special early admission program for prodigies. Graduated top of her class at 19. Survived SEAL training at 21, of only 7 women to ever earn the Trident. Made lieutenant commander at 23. And still people looked at her and saw only what she wasn't. Master Chief Reeves found her an hour later sitting alone in the armory, cleaning her Sig Sauer, even though it did not need cleaning, just going through the motions because it was familiar and comforting. You did good today, Reeves said, sitting beside her. I killed 2 men. 2 men who were about to kill 300. That's not the same as murder. That's war. Doesn't make it easier. It's not supposed to be easy. The moment killing becomes easy is the moment you stop being human. Reeves paused. I heard what happened with Staff Sergeant Brennan. Word travels fast. He made a mistake. He made an assumption based on prejudice. That's more than a mistake. That's a failure of character. He's going around telling everyone who'll listen that he made the biggest mistake of his career, that he judged me based on appearance and almost cost lives because of it. Reeves pulled out a tablet, showed Avery something. Brennan had filed a formal incident report, turned himself in for assault on a superior officer, recommended his own court-martial. The report was thorough, honest, self-aware, in a way most people never managed. What are you going to do? Reeves asked. I don't know yet. But she did know. She knew that Cole Brennan had committed assault based on prejudice. But she also knew that in the radar tower, when the bullets started flying, he'd had her back without hesitation. That counted for something. The question was whether it counted for enough. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Avery almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, a man's voice, accented, calm, speaking English with the careful precision of someone for whom it wasn't a first language. My name is Rashid Khalil. I believe you've been looking for me. Avery's hand tightened on the phone. She gestured frantically at Reeves, who immediately started working to trace the call. Khalil, you made a mistake coming after this base. Did I? The voice carried amusement. I've been at FOB Sentinel for 3 days, Lieutenant Commander. Walked past you twice. You looked right at me and saw nothing but a contractor carrying supplies. Avery felt ice in her veins. He'd been here, on the base. Close enough to touch. You're very good, Commander, Khalil continued. 6 months embedded in my network. Impressive. Your language skills are excellent. Your cover story was believable. You almost fooled everyone. Almost. I've been hunting American intelligence officers for 17 years. I know the signs, the small tells, the questions that are just slightly too specific. You were very good, but I'm better. If you're so much better, why are you running? Why not face me? Khalil laughed. Actually laughed. Who says I'm running? I'm simply adjusting my strategy. You stopped my activation sequence, saved your base, captured my operative. Impressive tactical work. But that's not victory, Commander. That's me teaching you a lesson. What lesson? That I can reach you anywhere. That your technology means nothing. That your training means nothing. His voice went colder. I know everything about you, Avery Blackwood, daughter of Major Douglas Blackwood, who died in Desert Storm February 1991. You weren't born yet. Your mother was 7 months pregnant. She raised you alone, told you stories about a father you never knew, a hero who died because his commanding officer ignored his warnings. Avery's blood ran cold. How did he know this? You joined the military to honor his memory, Khalil continued, to prove that you could be the warrior he never got to see you become. And you've spent your entire career fighting people who doubt you because of your age and your gender. It must be exhausting, Commander. Always proving yourself, never being enough. What do you want? I want you to understand something. You think you won today, stopped my attack, saved your base. But that's not victory. That's me showing you that I can compromise your security whenever I choose. That I can walk among you unseen. That I've been studying you, learning your patterns, understanding your methods. He paused. And most importantly, I want you to know that this isn't over. 6 months you hunted me. Now I'm going to hunt you. Not today, not tomorrow. But eventually, when you're confident, when you think you're safe, that's when I'll strike. And I'll make sure you survive just long enough to watch everyone around you die. That's the real victory, Commander. Not killing the warrior, but breaking her spirit. Big talk from a man who's been running from me for 6 months. Running, Khalil's voice carried genuine amusement. Commander, I've been letting you chase me. Studying you, learning everything about you. Every time you thought you were hunting me, I was hunting you. And now I know exactly what kind of warrior you are. Young, talented, burdened by the need to constantly prove yourself. That need will be your weakness, and I will exploit it. The line went dead. Reeves looked up from his tablet. Couldn't trace it, bounced through too many servers. But Avery, his expression was grave. He knows things about you, personal things. Your father, your history. That's not just intelligence gathering, that's obsession. Avery sat down heavily. The weight of the day was catching up with her. The assault, the sprint to the TOC, the fight in the radar tower, killing 2 men, and now this, a terrorist who'd made it personal. He's been planning this for months, she said quietly. Maybe longer. The network I infiltrated, the intelligence I gathered, he let me have it. Wanted me to think I was winning. But the whole time he was studying me. Why, true. Because I'm a symbol, young female SEAL commander. If he can break me, capture me, kill me, that's propaganda gold. That's worth more to him than any tactical victory. Reeves was quiet for a long moment. Your father died because someone didn't listen to him. Didn't value his expertise over their assumptions. You're not going to repeat that mistake. How do you know? Because I've been training you for 4 years. And in those 4 years, I've watched you become the kind of warrior your father would have been proud of. Not because you're trying to prove something, but because you genuinely care about the mission and the people who depend on you. He stood up. Get some rest, Lieutenant Commander. Tomorrow we start planning how to hunt Khalil for real. And this time we're not going to let him eat the terms of engagement. Avery nodded, but as Reeves left, she pulled out her phone and looked at the only photograph she had of her father. Major Douglas Blackwood in his dress uniform, taken 2 weeks before he deployed to the Gulf, 2 weeks before he died trying to save his men. He looked young in the photo, 29 years old, her age plus 6 years. He'd never gotten to see 30, never gotten to meet his daughter, never gotten to know that she'd followed in his footsteps. I stopped them today, Dad, she whispered to the photograph. Saved 300 lives, just like you tried to do. But Khalil is still out there, and he's coming for me. I need you to tell me what to do. Need you to tell me how to beat him. But the photograph didn't answer. The dead never did. All Avery had was herself, her training, her instincts. and the knowledge that somewhere out there Rashid Khalil was planning his next move. And when it came, she needed to be ready, because this wasn't just about stopping a terrorist anymore. This was personal, and Avery Blackwood didn't lose personal fights. The interrogation room smelled like sweat and failure. Staff Sergeant Trevor Walsh sat cuffed to a metal chair, his split lips still bleeding from where Avery had driven his face into the concrete. He looked at her with a mix of fear and defiance that told her everything she needed to know about his training. Amateur, Khalil had recruited him for access, not skill. "You made a mistake," Avery said, sitting across from him. Master Chief Reeves stood by the door, silent, observing. "You thought betraying your country would make you rich. Thought Khalil would pay you and you'd disappear somewhere the U.S. couldn't touch you. But you're not smart enough to disappear. And Khalil's not loyal enough to protect you." "I want a lawyer," Walsh said. "You'll get one, eventually, after you tell me everything about Khalil's network, his locations, his contacts, his plans." "I'm not telling you anything." Avery leaned back. "That's fine. We have your laptop, your phone, your encrypted communications. Our analysts are cracking your security right now. We'll have everything in about 6 hours." She paused, let that sink in. "But here's the thing, Staff Sergeant. In 6 hours, Khalil will know his operation is compromised. He'll disappear into the mountains, and the 51 Americans he's killed won't get justice. Their families won't get closure. All because you wanted to protect a man who sees you as disposable." Walsh's jaw tightened. "Khalil's not what you think," he said quietly. Not a terrorist, not a murderer. Not someone who'd kill you the second you became inconvenient." Avery pulled out her tablet, showed him a photograph. A body, or what was left of one. "This is Ahmed Rashidi. He worked for Khalil, helped him plan attacks. Then Khalil suspected he might talk to American intelligence. They found Ahmed in pieces outside Kandahar. Literally in pieces." Walsh went pale. "You think you're different," Avery continued. "You think Khalil values you. You're a tool. And when tools break, they get thrown away. But if you cooperate now, you get a chance. Reduced sentence. Protection. Maybe even a future. Depends on how useful you are in the next 5 minutes." Walsh was quiet for a long time. Reeves could see the calculation happening behind his eyes. Fear versus loyalty. Self-preservation versus ideology. "What do you want to know?" Walsh finally asked. "Everything, starting with where Khalil is right now." "I don't know. He never tells us his location. We communicate through encrypted channels." "When did you last hear from him?" 20 minutes ago, right before you came into the radar tower." He knew the activation had failed. Avery felt ice spread through her chest. "What did he say?" "That the primary objective was complete, that the activation sequence was never the real plan. It was a test." The room went silent. Reeves spoke from the door, his voice sharp. "A test for what?" Walsh looked up, and for the first time, there was something like genuine fear in his eyes. "To see if your security could be compromised. To see if someone was tracking him. To identify his hunter." Walsh met Avery's gaze. "He's known about you for weeks, Commander. Figured out you weren't really a French journalist. Let you keep gathering intelligence because it served his purpose. He wanted to know how good U.S. intelligence actually is. Wanted to see the face of whoever was hunting him. And now he knows," Avery said quietly. "And now he knows. 23-year-old female SEAL commander, youngest in history. Daughter of a hero killed in the Gulf War. High-value target." Walsh's expression was almost apologetic. "He's coming for you, Commander. Not to kill you, to capture you, to break you, to make you the centerpiece of his next propaganda campaign." "He's already here," Reeves said. "On the base, has been for 3 days." Walsh nodded slowly. "He forged credentials 2 years ago under a different name. Been working as a contractor at different U.S. bases across Afghanistan. Gathering intelligence. Planting assets. Planning attacks. He's on this base right now, probably watching you, waiting for his moment." Avery was on her feet. "Major Hastings needs to know. Full security sweep. Nobody leaves, nobody enters." She bolted from the room, Reeves right behind her. They burst into the TOC. Major Hastings looked up from a tactical display. "Commander Blackwood, we've secured the perimeter. No enemy forces detected beyond—" "It's not over," Avery interrupted. "Khalil's on the base. Been here for days. Walsh just confirmed it." Hastings' expression went from relief to horror. "That's impossible. We vet every contractor. He used military-grade forgeries, probably created by former intelligence officers who know your protocols." While Hastings' team pulled contractor databases, Avery's phone buzzed. Dr. Kate Sterling. Urgent. Commander, you need to come to the medical facility. I found something. Avery and Reeves ran. Kate met them at the Borg entrance, her expression grim. The two Taliban fighters you killed in the radar tower. Look at this. On the dead man's shoulder was a tattoo. 3 crescents arranged in a triangle. Khalil's signature, Avery said. He marks his most trusted operatives. There's more. Kate showed them surgical scars on the back. Recent implants. I extracted this. A chip, smaller than a fingernail, still transmitting. Tracking device, Reeves said quietly. Khalil marks his people so he can monitor them. When one gets captured or killed, he knows immediately. Which means Khalil knows his men are dead, Avery said. Knows the radar tower operation failed. Knows we're hunting him. So why hasn't he run? Kate asked. Reeves's expression was dark. Because he's not done yet. I've seen this pattern before. Afghanistan 1987. A Soviet-trained operative named Boris Volkov let us think we'd won, then hit us when we were vulnerable. What happened? Avery asked. Volkov sacrificed a forward position. We celebrated. 48 hours later, he hit 3 bases simultaneously, killed 17 Americans. Reeves met her eyes. Khalil was trained by Volkov. I'd bet my pension on it. Avery's phone rang, unknown number. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood? Hello again, Commander. Khalil's voice was calm, almost friendly. I assume you've discovered what I left to my operatives. The tracking chips. Very useful technology. Avery put the phone on speaker. What do you want, Khalil? I want to offer you a deal. Information about a gathering of Taliban leadership. 27 commanders, 6 provinces, all meeting in one location in 48 hours. The Korangal Valley. One strike could eliminate a generation of Taliban leadership. Reeves was already checking satellite imagery. His expression darkened as data populated the screens. In exchange, Khalil continued, I want safe passage. Me and my remaining operatives. We disappear. You get your targets. Everyone wins. You expect me to believe you just walk away. I expect you to verify the intelligence independently. Check your satellites, your signals intercepts. You'll find I'm telling the truth. Hastings' intelligence team was already working. An analyst called out thermal signatures in Korangal Valley. Large gatherings. Signal traffic is unusually high. This might be legitimate. You have 48 hours to decide, Khalil said. After that, the meeting happens, and you'll have missed the biggest opportunity in 5 years. Think carefully, Commander. 27 Taliban commanders. Or your pride. The line went dead. The TOC erupted in debate. Hastings trying to maintain order, while intelligence officers argued about the validity. Reeves pulled Avery aside. This is Volkov's playbook. Exactly. Give real intelligence to establish credibility. Make the target too valuable to ignore. Then hit them when they commit resources. But what if it's real? Avery asked. What if there really is a leadership meeting? We can't ignore 27 high-value targets. We can't take the bait either. Khalil wants us to strip this base to go after those commanders. Then he hits us here when we're weak. Or he's counting on us thinking that, counting on us being so paranoid we ignore genuine intelligence. Reeves looked at her with something between frustration and concern. Avery, I've been doing this for 40 years. I know what a trap looks like. And I've been tracking Khalil for 6 months. I know how he thinks. It was the first time she directly challenged his judgment. Something changed in Reeves's expression. Not anger, something closer to sadness mixed with pride. You're the officer in charge of this intelligence, he said quietly. It's your call. Commander Rachel Voss arrived 2 hours later from Bagram. She reviewed everything, satellite imagery, signal intercepts, pattern analysis. It's real, she said finally. The meeting is happening. We'd be fools not to hit it. It could be a trap, Reeves argued, drawing our forces away. Then we don't strip the base, Voss said. We bring in additional security. Keep 60% of JSOC forces here. Send 40% to Korangal. Hit fast. Be back before Khalil can capitalize. Avery looked at Reeves. He was shaking his head, but he didn't argue further. I agree with Commander Voss, Avery said. We hit Korangal, but we maintain strong defensive posture here. Reeves's jaw tightened. You're making a mistake. Maybe, but it's my mistake to make. 12 hours later, JSOC helicopters lifted off, carrying 40 operators to Korangal. 60 remained at FOB Sentinel, reinforcing defensive positions. Avery stood on the tarmac watching the helicopters disappear. Reeves stood beside her. In 1991, he said quietly, I ignored my instincts. Trusted intelligence that seemed too good to be true. Lost 3 men, good men, friends. That's why I'm cautious now. I understand, Master Chief, but I can't let your past dictate my decisions. Your judgment is based on 6 months. Mine is based on 40 years. Avery turned to face him. Then help me. Stop fighting my decision and help me prepare for what comes next. Something shifted in Reeves's expression. The tension became resigned acceptance. You're right. You're the officer. I'm the advisor. He paused. But Avery, if this goes wrong, then it's on me, not you. They spent 6 hours preparing, reinforcing positions, running security sweeps, checking contractor credentials. At 0200 hours, word came from Korangal. Mission successful. 27 Taliban commanders captured or killed. 0 American casualties. The TOC erupted in celebration. Hastings congratulating his team. Intelligence officers processing captured materials. But Avery felt no relief. Something was wrong. Khalil had given them real intelligence, had let them win. Unless winning was part of the plan. Reeves saw it too. He wanted us to succeed, wanted us distracted. The lights went out, not just in the TOC, across the entire base. Total darkness. Emergency generators kicked in after 3 seconds. Those 3 seconds were enough. Alarms erupted. Gunfire. Not from outside, from inside. We're under attack, Hastings shouted. Multiple hostiles inside the wire. Avery grabbed her radio. All units, hostile forces have breached the perimeter. Defend in place. This is not a drill. She turned to Reeves. He waited for us to celebrate, then hit us. Just like Volkov, Reeves said grimly. He chambered around. Just like I warned you. I know, you were right. We can discuss it after we survive. They ran toward gunfire, Building 7, where the blacklist protocol was stored. Outside bodies. The 2 guards' throats cut. Professional work. Silent. Avery entered, weapon up. Reeves covered her. Cole Brennan appeared from a corridor. Commander, Khalil's inside. Got past security during the blackout. He's in the vault. How many with him? At least 8. They're extracting the blacklist protocol. 43 operatives. If Khalil got that information out, they'd all be dead within 72 hours. We breach. Fast and hard. Brennan, you're with me, Master Chief? I'm with you, Reeves said. His voice carried an edge she'd never heard. You made the call that put us here. I'm making sure you survive it. They moved through the building, found the vault door open, stolen biometric credentials, inside 8 Taliban fighters, and Rashid Khalil. He looked exactly like his photos. Mid-40s, graying beard, eyes that had seen too much death. He held a briefcase, the blacklist protocol. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, he said calmly. Right on time. Very predictable. Put down the briefcase, Khalil. Or what, you'll shoot me in a room full of classified materials where one stray bullet could destroy millions in intelligence? I don't think so. He was right. The vault was filled with sensitive documents, computer servers. A firefight here could destroy years of work. Your JSOC team is in Korangal, Khalil continued, celebrating, thinking they've won. But they've won exactly what I wanted them to win. While they captured old men planning old attacks, I'm here, taking the one thing that actually matters. The blacklist protocol, Avery said. 43 names, 43 locations. By tomorrow, every CIA operative in the Middle East will be compromised. That's not tactical victory, Commander. That's strategic catastrophe. And you enabled it by being too proud to listen to your advisor. Reeves's voice was ice. She listened. She made a command decision. That's what officers do. Officers who make bad decisions get people killed, Khalil said. He looked at Avery. Just like your father. Major Douglas Blackwood. Made a decision to push forward despite warnings. Got 12 men killed. You're following in his footsteps perfectly. Avery felt rage building. Not at Khalil, at herself, because he was right. The difference, she said quietly, is that I'm still alive to fix my mistakes. She fired. Not at Khalil. At the briefcase. 3 rounds. The briefcase exploded in his hands. Paper shredded. Electronics shattered. Khalil screamed. Dove for cover. His men opened fire. Avery, Reeves, and Cole returned fire from the doorway. The vault became chaos. 2 Taliban fighters went down. 3, 4. But more were coming. Reinforcements. Fall back, Reeves ordered. We can't hold this position. They retreated through the building. Taliban fighters pursued. More gunfire ahead. The base was under full assault. They burst outside into a battlefield. Taliban forces everywhere, 50 fighters, maybe more. Khalil had planned this perfectly. Real intelligence to draw away defenders. Hit during power outage when communications were disrupted. Go for the highest value target. And Avery had enabled it. "We need the TOC," Cole shouted. "Coordinate defense." They ran. Bullets kicked up dust. An RPG screamed overhead, detonated against a barrier. Halfway there, an explosion. A truck bomb near the command center. The blast wave knocked Avery off her feet. She hit the ground, hard ears ringing. Cole pulled her up. Reeves was firing, providing cover. Too many Taliban, everywhere. In the center, Rashid Khalil, walking calmly, directing his fighters. He saw Avery. Their eyes met. He smiled, pulled out a phone, made a call. Avery didn't need translation. The final phase was coming. Reeves grabbed her arm. "We need to move, now." They ran toward defensive positions. More explosions. The base was being systematically destroyed. Avery's radio crackled. Hastings' voice strained. "All units, TOC is compromised. Multiple casualties. Evacuating to secondary command post. Commander Blackwood, we need static. Transmission cut." Avery looked at Reeves. His expression was grim. "He's not trying to kill us all," Reeves said. "He's trying to capture you. Everything else is theater." Taliban fighters began focusing fire, hurting them. Away from the TOC, away from reinforcements, toward a trap. "Master Chief," Avery said, "I'm sorry, you were right. I should have listened." "Save the apology," Reeves said. "Focus on surviving." They fought toward an old bunker, Soviet-era construction from the 1980s. Reeves had shown it to Avery during training. Underground tunnels, possible escape routes. They made it inside. 15 Taliban pursuing. The heavy door slammed shut. Cole threw the bolt. "That'll hold maybe 3 minutes," he said. Reeves was already moving deeper. "There's a tunnel, leads to north perimeter. We escape, circle back, link up with friendly forces." They ran through darkness, Avery's flashlight cutting through dust. Behind them, the door shuddered under impact. They reached the tunnel entrance. Narrow, barely wide enough for one person. Reeves stopped, turned to Avery. "You need to listen to me now, very carefully." His tone made her freeze. "This tunnel leads to the north perimeter, about 200 meters. You and Brennan go, fast as you can, link up with Hastings." "What about you?" "I'm staying. Someone needs to slow them down, buy you time." "No, we go together or not at all." "That's not how this works." Reeves's voice was gentle. "You're the officer. You have intelligence about Khalil's network. You need to survive to use it. I'm 62 years old. I've had my career. This is where it ends." "Oh, Master Chief." "That's an order, Lieutenant Commander." The bunker door exploded inward. Taliban poured through. Reeves pulled out a worn notebook, his journal from 1987. "Everything I learned about Soviet tactics, about Volkov, about fighting enemies like Khalil. Take it, study it, use it." He pressed it into her hands. "Now go, before I change my mind and die for nothing." Reeves opened fire, his M4 roaring. "Go!" he shouted. Cole grabbed Avery, pulled her into the tunnel. She fought him, trying to turn back. But Reeves was already fighting, already dying so they could live. The last thing Avery saw was her teacher standing alone against 15 men. Face calm, hands steady. Then Cole pulled her around a corner and he was gone. They ran through the tunnel. Behind them, gunfire. Screaming, then silence. Master Chief Magnus Reeves had fought his last battle, and Avery Blackwood would carry that weight forever. They emerged into the Afghan night. Cole pulled her behind a barrier as bullets cracked overhead. The base burned. Behind them in that bunker, Reeves was dead. The man who'd trained her, believed in her, died because she'd been too proud to listen. "Commander," Cole's voice cut through her shock. "We need to move." Avery forced herself to focus, pushed grief down. There would be time to mourn, if she survived. She keyed her radio. "Any station, this is Commander Blackwood. Requesting sitrep and rally point." Static. Then Hastings. "Commander, Secondary Command Post Building 12. Heavy casualties. Where's Master Chief Reeves?" Avery's throat tightened. "KIA. Bought us time to escape. Moving to your position." A pause. "Good copy. Be advised, Khalil's forces are withdrawing. They hit us hard, but they're pulling back." They moved through the compound. Bodies everywhere. The price of her mistake measured in blood. Building 12. Hastings met them, uniform scorched, field dressing on his arm. How bad? Avery asked. 17 dead, 32 wounded. They hit ammunition depot vehicle pool communications array. His expression darkened. And they copied the blacklist protocol. The briefcase was a decoy. They duplicated the files before you shot it. But signals intelligence confirms Khalil hasn't transmitted them yet. He's holding them as leverage. Avery felt the words like blows. Reeves died and she'd still failed. Dr. Kate appeared, scrubs covered in blood. Commander, I need authorization for emergency medevac. Critical casualties. Approved. Kate handed her a tablet. We found Khalil's communication device. Dropped during assault. Signals intel cracked it. Avery read intercepted messages. Her blood ran cold. The last message was addressed to her. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood. 48 hours. Come to Qadir Village. Alone. Bring proof. JSOC will guarantee safe passage. In exchange, I return the protocol, unshared, untransmitted. 43 lives for your surrender. If you refuse or bring forces, I upload the files and every operative dies. You have my word, as a warrior, we can negotiate. The choice is yours. Hastings read over her shoulder. It's a trap. Obviously, Avery agreed, but the offer might be genuine. Khalil's pragmatic. She pulled out Reeves's journal, open to the last entry. Protocol 67, Soviet Tactical Doctrine learned from Boris Volkov, 1987. When cornered, reverse the psychology. Make the enemy believe they are the ones trapped. Create false signals of weakness. Strike when they commit. Below a recent note, perhaps days ago. If you're reading this, I'm dead, and you're facing a decision I can't help you make. Remember, Khalil learned from Volkov. Everything I taught you applies. Trust your training. Don't fight the battle your enemy expects. Fight the battle you choose. Don't mourn me. Finish what we started. Avery closed the journal, looked at Hastings. I'm going to Qadir Village. That's suicide. Maybe, but it's the only play that saves those operatives. Cole spoke up. Master Chi died to get you out. You're going to throw that away walking into another trap. I'm going to honor his sacrifice by using what he taught me. Avery met their eyes. Protocol 67. Make Khalil think he's trapping me, while I'm actually trapping him. Avery emerged from the tunnel into the Afghan night with blood on her hands and grief crushing her chest. Cole Brennan pulled her behind a concrete barrier as bullets cracked through the air above them. The base was burning. Flames painted the darkness in shades of orange and red. Behind them in that bunker, Master Chief Magnus Reeves was dead. The man who'd trained her, believed in her, died because she'd been too proud to listen. Commander, Cole's voice cut through her shock. We need to move. Khalil's forces are everywhere. Avery forced herself to focus. Push the grief down into a place where it couldn't paralyze her. There would be time to mourn later. If she survived. She keyed her radio. Any station, this is Commander Blackwood. Requesting sitrep and rally point. Static. Then Major Hastings' voice strained and distant. Commander, Secondary Command Post Building 12. We're organizing defense. Heavy casualties. Where's Master Chief Reeves? Avery's throat tightened. KIA. Bought us time to escape. I'm with Staff Sergeant Brennan. Moving to your position. A pause, then, copy. Be advised Khalil's forces are withdrawing. They hit us hard, but they're pulling back now. We think they got what they came for. The blacklist protocol. 43 operatives across the Middle East, all compromised, all going to die because Avery had made the wrong call. She and Cole moved through the compound using shadows and smoke for cover. Bodies everywhere, American and Taliban both. The price of her mistake measured in blood. They reached Building 12. Hastings met them at the door, his uniform scorched a field dressing on his arm. How bad? Avery asked. 17 dead, 32 wounded. They hit us in our most vulnerable spots. Ammunition depot, vehicle pool, communications array. His expression was dark. And they got the blacklist protocol. The briefcase was a decoy. They'd already uploaded the files to an external drive before you shot it. Avery felt the words like physical blows. Not only had Reeves died for nothing, but she'd failed to stop Khalil anyway. When did they upload the files? Best estimate, during the initial power outage. Khalil had maybe 90 seconds of darkness. That's all he needed. Dr. Kate Sterling appeared, her scrubs covered in blood. Commander, I need you to authorize emergency medevac. We have critical casualties who won't survive without immediate evacuation. Approved. Get them out. Kate hesitated. There's something else. We found Khalil's communication device. Dropped during the assault. Our signals intelligence team cracked it. She handed Avery a tablet. On the screen, intercepted messages. In Pashto with English translations. Avery read them, her blood running cold. Khalil hadn't transmitted the blacklist protocol to Taliban leadership. Not yet. He was holding it. Waiting. The last message was addressed to her. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, you have 48 hours. Come to Qadir village. Alone. Bring proof that JSOC will guarantee my safe passage out of Afghanistan. In exchange, I return the protocol. Unshared. Untransmitted. 43 lives for your surrender. If you refuse or if you bring forces with you, I upload the files and every operative dies. You have my word as a warrior that if you come alone, we can negotiate. The choice is yours. Prove you value lives more than pride. Hastings read over her shoulder. It's a trap, obviously. Obviously, Avery agreed, but the offer might be genuine. Khalil's pragmatic. He knows we'll hunt him forever if 43 operatives die. But if he trades the protocol for safe passage, he gets to rebuild somewhere else. Or he captures you and kills everyone anyway. Wins on both counts. Avery pulled out Reeves's journal, the worn notebook he'd given her in his final moments. She opened it to the last entry, written in the Master Chief's precise handwriting. Protocol 67, Soviet Tactical Doctrine learned from Boris Volkov, 1987. When cornered by superior force, reverse the psychology. Make the enemy believe they are the ones being trapped. Use their confidence against them. Create false signals of weakness. Then strike when they commit. Below that, a note added more recently, perhaps days ago. If you're reading this, I'm dead, and you're facing a decision I can't help you make. But remember, Khalil learned from Volkov. Everything I taught you about Soviet tactics applies to him. Trust your training, trust your instincts, and remember that the best warriors don't fight the battle their enemy expects. They fight the battle they choose. Don't mourn me. Finish what we started. Avery closed the journal, looked at Hastings. I'm going to Qadir village. That's suicide. Maybe, but it's the only play that saves those operatives. Cole spoke up. With respect, Commander Master Chief Reeves died to get you out of that bunker. You're going to throw that away by walking into another trap. I'm going to honor his sacrifice by using what he taught me. Avery met their eyes. Protocol 67. Make Khalil think he's trapping me, while I'm actually trapping him. Over the next 24 hours, Avery planned. She studied Reeves's journal cover to cover. The 1987 entries detailed his confrontation with Boris Volkov in Afghanistan. The tactics. The mistakes. The lessons learned. Qadir village was marked on a hand-drawn map. Reeves had fought there, had nearly died there, had learned things about Soviet underground tunnel systems that he documented meticulously. Commander Rachel Voss flew in from Bagram, furious. You're not seriously considering this. I am. Khalil will kill you, or worse, parade you on video as proof that American women can't handle combat. He'll try, but I've been studying his teacher's tactics for 24 hours straight. I know how he thinks now. Voss studied her. What's your play, Protocol 67? I go to Qadir village. Make Khalil think I'm surrendering. While JSOC positions assets in the tunnels beneath the village. When Khalil commits to capturing me, you hit him from below. He expects attack from outside, not from underneath. That requires knowing the exact layout of the tunnels. Avery showed her Reeves's journal. The detailed schematics, the access points, the structural weaknesses. Master Chief Reeves mapped them in 1987. The Soviets built them. Khalil's using them now because his teacher used them. It's the pattern, the predictable pattern that we can exploit. Voss was quiet for a long moment. If this goes wrong, then I die, and you extract anyway. Get the protocol, save the operatives. Your sacrifice play doesn't work if Khalil uploaded the files already. He hasn't, I can feel it. He wants me alive, wants the propaganda victory. That need will make him wait, make him vulnerable. Cole Brennan stepped forward. I'm going with her. No, Avery said. It has to look like I'm alone. Khalil's watching. Probably has surveillance on the approach routes. Then I'll go through the tunnels with the assault team. Be there when it matters. Avery looked at this Marine who'd pushed her down days ago. Who'd learned? Who'd changed? Who was willing to risk his life to protect her? Okay, you're with the assault element and assault element. But Brennan, if this goes wrong, if I'm captured, you don't trade anything for me. You complete the mission. Get the protocol. Save the 43. That's an order. Yes, ma'am. At 0400 hours, 48 hours after Khalil's message, Avery walked alone toward Qadir village, 4 kilometers from FOB Sentinel. through rocky terrain that had killed Soviet soldiers and American soldiers and would probably kill more before this war ended. She was unarmed except for a sidearm on her hip. Khalil had demanded she come without weapons, but Avery had refused that term. A warrior without weapons was prey, not a negotiator. She carried a phone, a direct line to Voss. If things went wrong, one call would trigger the assault. The village appeared as the sun rose, ancient stone buildings, narrow streets, empty except for Khalil's fighters positioned on rooftops and in doorways. 30 men, maybe more, all armed, all watching her. Khalil emerged from a central building. He wore traditional Afghan clothes, a pakol hat, a long coat that probably concealed body armor. Lieutenant Commander Blackwood, he called out in English. You came. I'm impressed. And alone as requested. As you demanded, Avery corrected. She stopped 30 meters from him, close enough to talk, far enough to react if shooting started. I'm here to negotiate. Where's the protocol? First we talk about your father, about Master Chief Reeves, about the pattern you keep repeating. My father has nothing to do with this. Your father has everything to do with this. Major Douglas Blackwood, 29 years old, warned his commanding officer about an Iraqi ambush, was ignored, pushed forward anyway because the CO didn't want to appear weak. 12 men died, including your father. 5 weeks before you were born. Khalil moved closer. His men adjusted positions, keeping her covered from multiple angles. Now you, 23 years old, warned by Master Chief Reeves not to trust my intelligence about the Korengal meeting, ignored him because you didn't want to appear weak. Made the decision anyway. People died, including Reeves. Do you see the pattern, Commander? Avery felt the words like knives, because they were true. She had ignored Reeves, had made the same mistake her father made. The difference, she said quietly, is that I'm still alive to learn from it. Are you repeating the pattern again right now? Walking alone into a trap because you're too proud to ask for help. I'm here to save 43 operatives. That's not pride, that's duty. Khalil laughed. You're here because you feel guilty. About Reeves, about Korengal, about proving everyone right who said you're too young, too inexperienced, too female to command. This isn't about duty, it's about redemption. And redemption makes you predictable. He pulled out a small electronic device, a hard drive. The blacklist protocol. 43 names, 43 lives. I haven't transmitted it, haven't shared it yet. What do you want? Your surrender, on video. You admit that American intelligence failed, that sending women into combat positions is a mistake, that your pride got Master Chief Reeves killed. You say all this on camera, and I return the protocol. 43 lives for your humiliation. Avery felt rage building, not at Khalil, at the situation, at the impossible choice. And if I refuse, I upload the files right now. 43 operatives die within 24 hours. You get to live with that, just like you'll live with Reeves's death. The guilt will destroy you more effectively than any bullet. He was right, and he knew he was right. This wasn't about tactics or strategy. It was about breaking her psychologically. Avery thought about Reeves's final words. Don't mourn me. Finish what we started. She thought about the journal entry. Protocol 67. Make the enemy think they're winning while you prepare to strike. She reached for her sidearm. 30 weapons instantly trained on her. Slowly, Khalil warned. Avery drew her a Sig Sauer, slowly, carefully, then placed it on the ground. I surrender. Make your video. Say whatever you want me to say. Just give me the protocol first. Proof that you'll keep your word. Khalil smiled. You think I'm foolish enough to give you the files before the video? I think you're smart enough to know I won't cooperate without proof the files exist and are complete. Khalil considered this, then nodded, tossed the hard drive to her. Avery caught it, plugged it into her phone, opened the files, 43 names, 43 dossiers, complete, unaltered. She had what she came for. Now came the hard part. Set up your camera, she said. Let's get this over with. Khalil gestured. One of his men brought forward a video camera. Professional quality. This would be distributed worldwide. Taliban propaganda showing an American SEAL commander surrendering, admitting failure, humiliated. The camera started recording. Khalil spoke first in Pashto, then English, explaining who Avery was, what she represented, how her capture proved American weakness. Then he turned to her. Now, Commander Blackwood, tell the world how you failed. Avery looked directly into the camera, thought about Reeves, about her father, about every person who doubted her, and she spoke. My name is Lieutenant Commander Avery Blackwood, SEAL Team 7. I came here to negotiate the release of classified intelligence. But I want to say something else first. She paused. Let the moment build. Rashid Khalil, you made a mistake. You assumed I came alone. You assumed I was driven by guilt and pride. You assumed I would break. Khalil's expression changed. Understanding dawned. You assumed wrong. Avery dove sideways as explosions erupted beneath the village. The tunnels, JSOC forces breaching from below exactly where Reeves's journal said the structural weaknesses were. The ground collapsed in 3 places. SEAL operators poured out weapons firing. Khalil's men were caught completely off guard. They'd been watching for threats from outside the village, from the perimeter, not from underneath. Protocol 67. Reverse the psychology. Make them think they're trapping you while you trap them. Avery rolled, grabbed her sidearm, came up firing. 2 of Khalil's fighters went down before they could react. Cole Brennan emerged from the nearest tunnel entrance, his M4 blazing. Commander, get down. The village became a storm of gunfire and chaos. JSOC operators had the element of surprise. Khalil's forces had the numbers. But surprise was worth more. Avery fought her way toward Khalil. He was retreating, shouting orders, trying to rally his men. She tackled him from behind. They went down hard on the rocky ground. Khalil was bigger, stronger, trained in Soviet hand-to-hand combat. Systema, brutal and efficient. He threw Avery off, came up with a knife. You're good, Commander. Better than I expected, but not good enough. He lunged, the knife aimed at her throat. Avery sidestepped, grabbed his wrist, used his momentum against him. A judo throw Reeves had taught her 3 years ago. Tomoe Naj, the sacrifice throw. Khalil crashed to the ground, the knife skittered away, for he was on him in a second. Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, triangle choke, legs wrapped around his neck and arm, cutting off blood flow to his brain. Khalil fought, strong, desperate, but technique beat strength. Always had, always would. He went limp after 8 seconds. Avery held the choke for 3 more, making sure, then released, checked his pulse. Alive, unconscious, defeated. Cole appeared, secured Khalil with zip ties. Villages clear, 15 enemy KYA, 8 captured, 0 American casualties. Commander Voss emerged from a tunnel covered in dust, but smiling. Protocol 67. Master Chief Reeves would be proud. Avery retrieved the hard drive, the blacklist protocol. 43 lives saved, but the weight of it felt heavier than it should, because Reeves wasn't here to see it, would never see anything again. The helicopter ride back to FOB Sentinel was quiet. Khalil was unconscious in restraints. The captured fighters were silent. The JSOC operators were professional, cleaning weapons and checking gear. Cole sat beside Avery, didn't speak, just sat there, present, solid. Finally, he said quietly, Master Chief Reeves's last act was teaching you how to win this. That's not a bad way to go out. It's still going out. Yeah, it is, but warriors don't get to choose when or how. They just get to choose whether their death means something. Cole looked at her. His meant everything. You know that, right? Avery didn't answer. Couldn't answer. The grief was too close to the surface. 3 weeks later, Arlington National Cemetery. Gray sky. Cold wind. Hundreds of people gathered to honor Master Chief Magnus Reeves. Avery stood at the podium in her dress blues. Her ribbons told a story of valor and sacrifice. Her face told a story of grief barely contained. She looked out at the crowd. SEAL operators, Marines, Army Rangers, sailors, soldiers, airmen, people whose lives Reeves had touched over 40 years of service. And in the front row, Cole Brennan. In his Marine dress blues, at attention, Avery began to speak. Master Chief Magnus Reeves served this nation for 40 years. He trained 3 generations of SEAL operators. He fought in conflicts most Americans have never heard of. He saved lives, took lives, did the hard things that freedom requires. She paused, gathered herself. But more than that, he taught us what it means to be warriors. Not fighters, warriors. There's a difference. Fighters win battles. Warriors win battles while building something that lasts beyond the battle. She pulled out Reeves's journal. In his final moments, Master Chief Reeves gave me this, his journal from 1987. In it, he documented everything he learned about Soviet tactics, about how to fight enemies who seemed unbeatable, about how to win when the odds said you should lose. Avery's voice cracked slightly. He didn't give this to me so I could survive. He gave it to me so I could win, so I could finish what we started, and so I could teach others the way he taught me. That's not just tactical knowledge. That's legacy. That's immortality. She looked at the flag-draped coffin. Master Chief, you told me not to mourn you. To finish what we started, I did. Khalil is in custody. The 43 operatives are safe. Your sacrifice bought their lives. That's the arithmetic of heroism. One life freely given to save many. Tears were flowing now. She didn't wipe them away. But I'm going to mourn you anyway. Because you were my teacher, my mentor, my friend. You believed in me when no one else did. You pushed me when I needed pushing. You died so I could live. And I will carry that debt for the rest of my life. Not as a burden, as a purpose. She stepped back from the podium. The honor guard fired 3 volleys. The bugler played taps. The flag was folded and presented to Reeves's sister, his only surviving family. After the ceremony, Cole approached Avery. That was a good speech. It wasn't enough. Words are never enough. No, but they're what we have. Cole paused. I've been thinking about what Master Chief said to me, about learning from mistakes, about not judging people by assumptions. And I'm putting in for a transfer to Naval Special Warfare. I want to be part of what you're building, if you'll have me. Avery looked at this Marine who'd pushed her down, who'd learned, who'd changed. Why did I? Because 3 weeks ago, Master Chief Reeves died teaching me that real warriors don't just fight. They build, they mentor, they leave things better than they found them. I want to be that kind of warrior. And I can't think of a better place to learn than from the officer he believed in most. It won't be easy. SEAL training will be the hardest thing I've ever done, I know. But I pushed a SEAL commander to the ground because I thought she was weak. She saved 300 lives and caught the most wanted terrorist in Afghanistan. I figure I owe it to her to spend the rest of my career proving I can be half the warrior she is. Avery almost smiled. You're going to hate BUD/S. Probably, but I'll finish it. Because quitting would dishonor everything Master Chief taught me. 1 year later, Avery stood in the command briefing room at Naval Special Warfare Command. She was 24 now, promoted to captain, the youngest in SEAL history. Commander Rachel Voss was there. Major Warren Hastings recovered from his wounds, promoted to lieutenant colonel. Dr. Kate Sterling, now the senior medical officer for special operations in Afghanistan. And Cole Brennan, fresh from BUD/S graduation, wearing the trident, looking like he'd been through hell and come out stronger. Ladies and gentlemen, Voss said, welcome to the organizational briefing for SEAL Team 10, the first fully integrated SEAL team in Naval Special Warfare history. Captain Blackwood will command. Lieutenant Brennan will serve as executive officer. Dr. Sterling as chief medical officer. Voss pulled up a roster, 15 names, men and women, different ages, different backgrounds, all elite operators who'd earned their places. Your mission, Voss continued, is simple. Prove that integration works. Prove that diversity isn't a weakness, it's a force multiplier. Prove that the best warriors are the ones who bring different perspectives to solve tactical problems. She looked at Avery. Captain Blackwood, this team is being named the Reeves Unit. In honor of Master Chief Magnus Reeves, every operator who serves in it will be expected to meet the standard he set. Excellence, mentorship, legacy. Think you can deliver that? Avery thought about Reeves, about his sacrifice, about his journal which she'd studied until she could recite passages from memory. Yes, ma'am, we can deliver that. Good, because the entire special operations community is watching. Some want you to succeed. Some want you to fail. Some are waiting to see which way the wind blows. Your job is to make the wind blow in the direction that honors Master Chief Reeves's memory. Over the next 6 months, Avery trained the Reeves unit harder than any team had been trained before. Not to break them, to forge them. Cole proved to be a natural leader, patient with junior operators, demanding when necessary, always pushing people to be better than they thought they could be. Dr. Kate brought a perspective none of them had considered. Medical decisions that saved lives on the battlefield. Tactical advice that prevented injuries before they happened. The team gelled, became something more than the sum of its parts. Their first mission came in Syria. 4 hostages held by ISIS. 3 previous rescue attempts had failed. The Reeves unit executed perfectly. Used the diverse perspectives Voss had talked about. Approached the problem from angles traditional teams hadn't considered. 4 hostages recovered. 17 ISIS fighters killed or captured. 0 American casualties. Perfect execution. When they returned to base, Cole found Avery in the tactical planning room studying after-action reports. We did good today, he said. we did what we were trained to do. No, we did more than that. We proved something that the team Master Chief believed in works. That integration isn't political. It's tactical superiority. Avery looked at him. This man who'd started as her biggest mistake and become one of her most trusted operators. You know what I think about sometimes, she said quietly. What if I had pressed charges that first day? What if I'd let my anger at being pushed down override everything else? You'd be court-martialed, dishonorably discharged, and we wouldn't have one of our best operators. You'd also have been justified. I assaulted a superior officer based on prejudice. But you learned, changed, became better. That's what Master Chief taught me, that mistakes are only failures if we don't learn from them. Cole was quiet for a moment. I've been writing letters to young Marines about unconscious bias, about earned respect, about what I learned from pushing you down. How many letters? 247 so far. To Marines, soldiers, sailors, anyone who'll listen. Telling them that assumptions kill, that the mold is the problem, not the person who doesn't fit it. Avery felt something shift, pride, hope, the sense that maybe Reeves's death had started something bigger than any of them had realized. 5 years after Reeves's death, Avery was promoted to commander at 28. The Reeves unit had executed 43 missions, all successful. The model was being replicated across JSOC. 6 female SEAL candidates graduated BUD/S that year. The most in history. Cole, now a lieutenant, had become an instructor, teaching at Quantico, his course Leadership Under Fire. The core lesson: how assumptions and ego kill more warriors than enemies. The military was changing, slowly, but changing. 10 years after that day at FOB Sentinel, Avery stood at the Naval Academy as a full colonel, 33 years old, about to give the commencement address. Cole was in the audience, retired now at 39, teaching full-time, writing books about leadership and accountability. Avery looked out at 1,200 midshipmen, the future of the Navy, the future of special operations. She thought about her father, dead before she was born, a hero whose warnings were ignored. She thought about Reeves, dead in a bunker in Afghanistan, a teacher whose lessons would never die. And she spoke. My name is Colonel Avery Blackwood. 10 years ago, a Marine pushed me to the ground because he made assumptions about who I was based on what he saw. Young, female, civilian clothes. He assumed I was weak, assumed I needed protecting, assumed wrong. The audience was silent, attentive. That Marine's name is Cole Brennan. He's here today, and I want to tell you what happened after he pushed me down. She gestured to Cole. He stood uncomfortable with the attention. He didn't make excuses, didn't blame his training or his culture or his upbringing. He acknowledged his mistake, learned from it, changed because of it, and became one of the finest warriors I've ever served with. Cole sat down, his face red. That's what I want you to remember from today. Not that assumptions are bad, that's obvious. What I want you to remember is that mistakes are only failures if we don't learn from them. Cole Brennan made a mistake. Then he spent 10 years teaching thousands of others not to repeat it. That's not failure, that's legacy. She paused. Master Chief Magnus Reeves died saving my life. But before he died, he gave me something more valuable than life. He gave me knowledge, wisdom, understanding. He gave me the tools to win battles he'd never fight. That's not just mentorship. That's immortality. Avery pulled out Reeves's journal, worn now, carried through a decade of missions. This journal contains everything Master Chief Reeves learned in 40 years of service. I've been studying it for 10 years, and I'm still finding new lessons. Because real knowledge isn't something you learn once. It's something you return to, again and again, finding new meaning each time. She closed the journal. My father died before I was born, killed because someone's ego overrode his expertise. Master Chief Reeves died in a bunker in Afghanistan. Killed because I made a decision that put pride over caution. But their deaths weren't meaningless. Because I'm standing here, teaching you, so that you don't repeat the mistakes that killed them. Her voice strengthened. That's what warriors do. We don't just fight battles. We learn from them. We teach what we learned. We build something that lasts beyond our own lives. My father built me. Master Chief Reeves built the Reeves unit. And now all of you have the chance to build the future. She looked across the audience, 1,200 faces. Some would become warriors, some wouldn't, but all of them would face moments where assumptions tempted them to make fatal mistakes. Remember today. Remember that the person who doesn't fit your expectations might be the best warrior you ever meet. Remember that ego kills. Remember that legacy matters more than individual glory. And remember that the greatest victory isn't defeating the enemy. It's teaching the next generation to defeat enemies you'll never face. The applause was thunderous. After the ceremony, Avery drove to Arlington National Cemetery. Two graves, side by side. Major Douglas Blackwood, 1965 to 1991. Master Chief Magnus Reeves, 1962 to 2024. She placed flowers on both graves. Purple hearts she'd been awarded for wounds received in combat. Symbols of sacrifice she didn't need anymore. Dad, she said to the stone, I never met you, but Mom told me stories. About your warnings, about how no one listened, about how you died trying to save men who should have listened to you. She knelt. I've spent 33 years trying to honor your memory, trying to be the warrior you would have been proud of, trying to make sure your death meant something. She turned to Reeves's grave. Master Chief, you died teaching me how to win, how to lead, how to build something that lasts. The Reeves unit has trained 217 operators, 43 missions, 0 failures. That's your legacy, not mine, yours. Tears fell. 10 years later, and it still hurt. 300 people are alive because you taught me to think tactically. 43 operatives came home because you taught me Protocol 67. 6 female SEAL operators graduated this year because you proved that excellence has no gender. Thousands of junior officers are learning to lead without ego because Cole Brennan is teaching them what you taught him. She stood. I promised I'd finish what we started. I did. But I'm not done, because what we started isn't a mission. It's a movement. It's changing the culture, making the military better, stronger, more effective, not through mandates, through example. Avery saluted both graves, a final gesture of respect. Thank you, Dad, for giving me purpose. Thank you, Master Chief, for giving me the tools to fulfill it. I'll keep teaching, keep building, keep honoring your memories, not through words, through actions, through the warriors I train, through the lives they save, through the legacy that will outlive us all. She turned to leave, stopped, turned back one more time. And Master Chief, you were right. I didn't need you at the end. I'd already learned everything you had to teach. But I'll spend the rest of my life teaching it to others, because that's what warriors do. We pass it on, generation to generation, teacher to student, until the lessons become immortal. Until we become immortal. The wind picked up, rustling through the trees, carrying her words away into the vastness of Arlington, where 73,000 warriors rested, where her father rested, where her teacher rested. But their lessons didn't rest, couldn't rest, because Avery Blackwood was still teaching them, and the warriors she taught would teach others, and the cycle would continue, forever. That was the legacy, not the battles won, not the missions accomplished, not the awards or promotions or recognition. The legacy was the knowledge passed on, the wisdom shared, the next generation of warriors taught to be better than the last. That was immortality. And as Avery Blackwood walked away from those graves, she carried with her the weight and the honor of that truth. The dead lived on in those they taught, and she would make sure they lived on forever.